So I would like to say thank you first of all for having us here. It's a really nice time to getting to know Plug and Play. We're at Plug and Play right now, and please could you present yourself briefly and say what do you do here?
My name is Greenstein. I'm the Vice President of Marketing Communications for Plug and Play. My job here is to capture the stories of the people that come through Plug and Play. Every day, on any given day, there's entrepreneurs, there's corporate partners, there's investors and startups that are in this building, almost 300 in this building at any given time, but also just passing through the hallways. And so I capture the stories and I tell them to the outside world. I'm also in charge of content, so we're creating a bunch of resources for startups so that we can, for example, help them build a pitch document, help them prepare for a VC pitch or put together a business plan. So I'm creating all these helpful documents and putting them on our social media and on our website and blog.
Very cool. And I would like to know your entrepreneurial story. I know you've been an entrepreneur. Now you are an entrepreneur, but you had your own startups. And how is it like now? Tell me your story.
Once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur, right?
Yes, and well, you're born in Silicon Valley, so this really helps a lot.
I was actually born in Chicago. I did grow up here. I know I told you that earlier. I was misleading. But I was here from a very young age, and I knew I wanted to do something creative with my life. I didn't slip into entrepreneurialism. In fact, I studied journalism and law, and only then finally started my first company, which was a music company called Bojang. We were building an online multi-track recording studio. I was actually originally a Plug and Play tenant 5 years ago, which is how I was introduced to the company. Mm-hmm. We did the startup for 2 years. We were a TechCrunch 50 presenting company. Ultimately, it didn't work out. We failed to figure out the business portion of the business.
Well, it happens. It happens. It's fine.
But I knew that I loved being, in an environment where people are creating things. It's a very exciting environment because everyone is so inspired and they're trying to change the world. To put it into contrast, when you go and talk to a doctor who comes home from work, their job is very much about dealing with lives and people often getting sick, and it's, in contrast, what we have here is that everyone is just reaching for the stars and trying to do something great, and it's just really amazing to be a part of that.
Definitely. Earlier, you were telling me that you believe in this kind of synchronicity that happens here. I mean, you mentioned something that, well, we like to help others, and maybe not that person's going to reply, but someone after that. Have you ever lived a kind of this moment, like a synchronicity moment, special thing here in Silicon Valley?
It's a very tight-knit community in Silicon Valley. Even though it seems big, everyone seems to know a friend of a friend, and so I think there's a karma element to being here, where if you can help out.
I like that. You believe in karma as well. Good.
It's maybe a balance is a more objective way to put it, but if you can help a startup out, whether it's with an introduction or a networking opportunity, that's always going to come around and help you in some way. And since people have to work together to accomplish these goals, oftentimes a good introduction is a favor to the person who is receiving the introduction as well.
Yes.
And so I think everyone, certainly in Plug and Play, has come from this environment of wanting to, being an entrepreneur and wanting to help entrepreneurs. And so really, even though we're all working in different facets, some of us are doing corporate development, some of us are doing startup sourcing and venture, reviewing startups. Everyone here is trying to do the same thing, which is find great ideas and help them happen.
And talking a little bit more about what does Plug and Play look for in the entrepreneurs or in the startups? What is the key aspects that they search for?
Anytime you answer this question, it's hard not to sound cliche, but I think everyone always...
Well, it's a cliche question as well, so you're allowed to be cliche, it's fine.
There's a lot of success indicators for a startup, whether or not they own technology, that's a good sign. If they have a very strong team that's very close, that's a good sign. If they've done it before, that's a good sign. If they have good connections, if they have a lot of money, if they have traction, all these things are helpful.
Yes.
I think to some extent you probably go and look at a startup and you say, okay, they've got 5 of the 8 things we love to see, and beyond that, no company is going to be all the way there. We really believe in this team, and so therefore that's going to push us over. ultimately, I think if you can get to a certain point where you're ready to treat it as a business and grow it as a business, albeit a young business, then it does ultimately come down to the entrepreneur who's going to be putting their passion on the line every day.
So you as an entrepreneur had several teams. What was different from the first team to the second one, and there was a third one, yes?
Yes. So my first startup that I ever did, I thought big and I tried to execute big, and I built this dream product. I was a musician and we were creating a platform for musicians, and I wanted everything. I mean, it had to be a big platform, it had to have video, it had to have multi-track and editing and looping, and so I just tried to do too much, and it was way too complex of a product to manage.
Okay.
My second startup, I focused on just getting something out really quickly. I said, you know what, I don't know what the consumers want, so I'm going to launch and learn, get it out there, and then pivot. But I never gave much thought into what the product was or what problem it was solving, and so when I launched it, no one used it.
You need to find a balance between not taking too much time and not being that fast, maybe. So, okay, and then in the third startup, you found...
The third one, I finally realized what people meant when they said, do something useful.
Oh, okay.
It's not being cool. Like, if you have a cool product, it's cool, but it's not useful. If you have a useful product, people will actually use it, solve some problem. And the reason we actually came up with the useful concept is we went to a hackathon. And a hackathon is a great environment where you go spend 24 hours developing a product and you're done. But because there's so little time, you don't try to do too much. You just do the bare minimum. You use whatever technologies are out there. You have to think about a simple product. And when you do that, and you solve a simple problem, it gives you a starting point.
Great. What kind of advice would you give to young entrepreneurs, now that you've seen plenty of them?
I have a great deal of respect for entrepreneurs. It's not an easy thing, putting your life on the line. It's not your life, but your dreams on the line, your career on the line sometimes, your friends and family and their money.
Yes.
But I think that all entrepreneurs, it's very easy to break down someone's idea. It's much easier to criticize than it is to do something. And so you go out in the world to try to build something, and everyone will tell you, oh, it won't work because of this reason, it won't work because of that reason. No one really knows. I can think of a lot of companies that have failed that looked great, and a lot of companies that are great that looked like failures. So ultimately, you have to at least enjoy the process, because no one's going to agree with you, and you're never going to know if you're doing it right. That's the high-level advice. The small-level advice is, what we covered earlier. Get a prototype out quickly. Talk to your customers. Worry about solving one problem at a time. Don't try to think too big, and be open-minded.
Well, very nice. It was a pleasure to talk to you. A lot of lessons and very valuable advice. I like that one. And while I'm here at Plug and Play, today we have a very fancy studio at Plug and Play, and this is great. This is what I want for Startup TV. Hey, so this is very nice, and we're really enjoying our time here. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.